Hi, everybody. Welcome back to what is probably the season finale of our first kind of show slash season of All Caught Up. And we're
Yeah.
also going to be talking about The Last of Us season finale, season 1. So, with that, I mean, wow. First of all, can I just say, I am so proud of us, Enzo. We made it through 9 weeks
Yay.
together. We have gone through 9 weeks, 3 months straight, every week doing this. I don't think we've missed any weeks, have we? Like,
No.
we never had to do like a catch up, you know? So,
Yeah.
with that being the case, then, so Enzo, tell me, like, coming into this, how did you feel? And don't talk about the episode just yet. Just talk about your feelings towards it.
Nervous. Because, like, knowing what the outcome would be and what they're trying to set up, I like to seeing if they can land the finale. Like, can they make a proper landing? And the answer is yes, they can, thankfully. But just overall nervous of, like, oh, season 1 doesn't end, the pain of The Last of Us. It just continues it until we get the end
Season
of The
2.
Last of Us. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, I was like really looking forward to it. I was both looking forward to it, but also I was dreading the fact that this was gonna end because I was looking forward to it, but I was also like, I don't want this experience to end. But the thing with a really good show, I feel, is that it knows when it needs to end. And I am so thoroughly happy about the fact that I was like, okay, the pacing has been absolutely great. Gosh, my light is. I'm so disturbed by the fact I look so shiny. Better. I was like, my god, it was so shiny. But yeah, the pacing was so great that like there was nothing else, nowhere else to go except ending it. And did I want like a special filler episode where they just are both happy and nothing bad happens to them? Absolutely. But that's not what the show is about. So going into it, I was like, okay, well, you know what? I know where this ends. This is where it's all over. So with that being the case, at this point, I was like, okay, we'll end it. Where are they gonna take it from here, right? And thankfully, the first probably 20... Okay, no, not the first, because when we fucking open it, we get to see, if you guys don't already know, Ashley fucking Johnson, the OG Ellie from the video game, essentially giving birth to baby Ellie, which is kind of poetic, but also kind of weird in my head.
Yeah. I was like, huh. Interesting choices. But it's great seeing Ashley Johnson as Ellie's mom. Like, who else do you get?
What's interesting, kasi for me, is that she was fully in labor getting chased by a fucking clicker or a runner. And then, like, 2, I was like, oh, I forgot. Like, I think people forget that she is a genuine actress that, like, acts. Like, she doesn't just a voice actor. She is, like, a full actress. And, like, super talented, super amazing. God bless her. And we go and we see, she fully kills somebody, and we get essentially the story of how Ellie seems to be immune because her mom fully busts her out when she gets bit.
Yeah.
She kills the runner, and boom, baby Ellie, and we're like, what the fuck? How about you, Enzo? How did you think when you saw that scene?
I'm glad they finally gave an explanation of how Ellie is immune after all this time. Because even until like the second game, we were like, oh, she's immune because plot reasons. You're like, what are the plot reasons? Explain, please. And they never do until now. And you're like, oh, that kind of makes sense. I just wonder, like, if the Fireflies are so hell-bent on a cure, how many other pregnant people they've sacrificed to be like, let's recreate it.
But it turns out that Firefly leader Marlene is actually lifetime friends with Ashley Johnson, which is, again, kind of funny considering the fact that they both acted in the video game and then played this out. But I'm sure that it was interesting for them to play out a completely different scene.
Yeah.
And which I'll talk about later in regards to like Marlene playing parts, like playing the same thing again, her actress. And you know, we get a really tough moment where Ellie's mom, I think her name is Anna, begs for Marlene to take care of her kid, and we kind of know how that goes about. And I'll tie that in later towards the end, but essentially we get this idea that, like, okay, now we know how Marlene really does know Ellie and all that. And then boom, we move on. Ellie is now, we're in present time, we're with Joel, and she is absolutely fucking traumatized. And we get one of the cutest moments that I've seen, like 10, like how, I don't know, Enzo, how many fucking edits I've seen of Pedro Pascal going, "Dude, come on, it's Chef Boyardee," and Buggle. And I was like, oh! I actually cried more in that moment than I cried at the end. Gotta be fucking honest. Because seeing Joel fully vulnerable, fully into dad mode, you know, fully smiling now. Actually, it's kind of funny because Ellie is not the one smiling anymore. It's Joel. And, you know, he's trying his best to take care of her, see how he can make her smile, make her happy. And what did you think about kind of seeing Ellie in this moment, like, very distant, and seeing Joel trying to kind of bring her back from her kind of fears and everything and her trauma? Or comfort her, I mean.
It's kind of hard to watch and heartbreaking at the same time because you see, as you mentioned, Joel full of life and Ellie just dead inside, and him trying to be like, come on, let's play Boggle or have something nice to eat, just trying to get some life into her, but he knows why she's like this, and we all know why.
Yeah, we saw it the last episode play out.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because we went 8 episodes of him being absolutely fucking dead.
Yeah.
And then now we get him fully present, happy, you know, almost as if he was like, I would argue that he probably looks happier now, if only like since Sarah, because, you know, when he had Sarah, I think he assumed that he was going to be there for all of her life, but having lost her so early in the beginning, and then like getting to this point, like he's probably at the point where he's like, I have to make sure I do not lose her.
Yeah.
And you know, you really feel that. You really feel like, okay, he has the will to live again. Like, there is something worth fighting for in this world. And for as much as we want to say, oh, don't put, you know, your purpose into other people, but sometimes people forget that it's other people in this kind of world that keep you going at the end of the day. Because when nothing else is there, when there's no job, when there are no like careers to make a living off of, when there's no like security or safety in the way that we know, you know, like, to know that there are people, that's usually the thing that keeps people going, right? And, you know, cute moments. And then what happens after? They go into the city, right? Where do they end up? Washington?
I'm not good with US states. I have no idea where they're at. I just know. I
know they were in Kansas City. I think they were in Washington. No, I don't fucking know where Jackson is either. I'm gonna be honest. Jackson, what?
I think the scene we get next is the giraffe scene.
Yes, we do. We do get into the city. And then, you know, Joel's like, all right, you know what to do. And Ellie's like, yeah, we look for a skyscraper, climb up and see the highest point to look where we can go from there. And he's like, no, we bust through. And, you know, it's like, wow, Joel is joking around because he's really trying. Like, he's really trying. And I don't think he was ever incapable of trying. I just think that, you know, trust only does so much until, you know, trust can do a lot for a person, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, sorry?
I'm glad they did the giraffe scene, and they didn't skip over it. Or rush
of course, I feel like that's the last thing. Like, of all the things, that is one of, like, the most pivotal, moments. Like, most important kind of scenes that they should not, like, besides being a plot point, I think it's just one of those incredibly sentimental scenes that should not be changed.
Yeah.
And I think it's a callback too with what Ellie says, right? Where it's like, you can't beat the view or something like that, right? Like, she says something like that, which is kind of a callback to the second episode with Tess,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
Did you read that they used the real giraffe for this one?
They did. I was so okay. I'm gonna be fucking honest. I thought it was CG. I don't know about you, Enzo. Did you think it was CG?
No, it didn't have that like rubbery or shiny look. So I was confused. I was like, is that a really good animatronic? Or did they use a real thing? I doubt that they used the real thing until I read about it. I was like, holy shit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I was exactly the same way because I was like, I thought it was CG, but that's because everything behind it was CG.
Yeah.
So I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if they did choose to make the giraffe CG. But no, it was real. And I was like, that is adorable. I love that for them. Sorry, excuse me. I'm drinking coffee, everybody. It's my gassy. I'm sick. I came from my period. Let me recover, everybody. But I'm here to talk about it. This is the sacrifice I make for everybody. But anyway, so yeah, and I was like, I would have cried if it weren't for the fact that I cried more about Joel watching it. But I was like, Joel doing the whole Boggle and Chef Boyardee thing, because I was like, that is truly a dad thing, and I love that for him. You know, and like, huh?
Yeah, I agree. We do get a scene that wasn't in the game where he explains why he has a gunshot in the head.
Oh yeah, actually, before we get on to that point, I actually want to mention, prior to the giraffe scene, there's a funny point where Joel is like, hey, there's a ladder up here. I'm gonna give you a boost. Can you bring it down? This is like fully before they get to that giraffe scene. And I remember thinking to myself, like, hey, this sounds like something that happened in the game. And so I asked, so again, I'm watching this with somebody who played the games, who, by the way, just finished the second one. That was the time. So I asked them, oh, is this a moment that happens in the video game? And they said, yeah, actually, because you get the prompt to ask her to go up, because that's a thing, right? Like, consistently you ask her to go through the small areas or go up so he can boost her up, and then you say it, and then she doesn't come.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my god. And I was like, oh, that's funny. That's kind of a cute, like, little callback, because it's like both a character defining moment on top of the fact, like, I don't know, that was just cute that they like mirrored it in the game. But in my opinion, it works better in the game because this is the last part. So when she doesn't respond to the prompt, your part of you is like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Oh. So yeah, I just wanted to make mention of that because I feel like there's no other appropriate time to say that, because after this point, Enzo and I are delaying this, by the way, everybody. We're delaying the parts that are really fucking painful.
Yeah, we'll keep delaying it too, because I dread it.
Yeah, you dreaded that part, right? But
yeah.
So moving on, we get to a point where they're talking about, like, we're talking about, like, Arby, because Ellie asks, is this the Fedra thing? And Ellie is like, oh, what is this? Like, Army stuff? Like, what's Army? Well, I think she knows what the Army is, but like,
yeah.
And Joel explains, like, you know, people were blah blah blah, you know, and he's like, and she's like, yeah, blah blah blah. Talks about the guy that, you know, shoots and miss, right? And we get a really, really, really painful moment where Joel says to Ellie and explains, like, how he got his scar. And how do you feel about that, Enzo? Because this, yeah, like you said, this wasn't in the game.
Surprising. There was like a new dimension to Joel. Again, another new seeing Joel this vulnerable and this willing to talk about this. I was like, damn, this show is really trying to make Joel a lot more developed and a lot more nuanced than the game was.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like because that's the beauty, and we'll talk about this towards the end. I think our post discussion of the episode is going to be a lot longer, at least on my end, because this is what the show is able to do that the video game doesn't really get to do, you know, like truly find a different way to develop the same character. Because I do think that it is quite in line that Joel, for the longest time, you know, Joel, post having lost Sarah the day before or 2 days before, you know, he ends up wanting to do that because what else is there in life if not her, not his daughter? And it makes sense. And a part of you is like, that's dark. And, you
Yeah.
know, it just gets darker. But that was pretty dark. But then you get this kind of ray of hope with what he says, where he says, you know, you just keep living until you find something. You know, because Ellie asks, or Ellie says, like, you're gonna tell me that time heals wounds, and he's like, no, not really. And what does he say specifically, Enzo?
Doesn't say anything, but it's implied that oh, time doesn't heal the wounds. Ellie did, and you're like,
Yeah,
fuck.
yeah, he did. He doesn't say anything, but everyone's able to kind of infer that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, "That's you, baby girl." I was like, "You're the reason, baby girl!" Like in the screen, like screaming at the screen, "It's you, baby girl!" And then we get like, you know, they start walking, and then boom, we get like attack, and we're like, "Oop."
Yeah.
But then, yeah,
This is what I mean by like, right? Because in the game, there's like areas where it's like, oh, this is the enemy area, and this is the part of the game I really didn't like the most because like, between them walking and them being captured, there's an area where the game throws every enemy infected at you, like you faced before. So you're like, oh fuck, there's 3 bloaters. I hate this game. And then-
actually, yeah. Even the person that I was watching with, they even mentioned like this is a point where you're supposed to be fighting infected, but because they were like, "Oh, we're here already. Like we're here at the hospital scene."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, what happened?" They're like, "Yeah, you're supposed to fight people." I was like, "Oh," but they're like, "Nah, it makes sense space wise that they wouldn't because it's kind of like what really is the point of sending that? You know, like if we're gonna be honest, right? Like, what was the point of?"
yeah.
Sending them. Sorry, my throat. Anyway,
And like if
so
you
we
die,
get.
I'm sorry. I was like, if you
Go
die,
ahead, go ahead.
like you start like at the beginning of whatever the level was. You're like, ah, fuck this mission.
Yeah, I hear like this is like. See, I'll speak on the game again. Speak on the game stuff later because I think for now, I would like to get through the parts, but I have thoughts about that as well. And also, I was like, that's kind of funny. He's like, where's the bloaters? They were like, where's the bloaters? I was like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, side eye. But, you know, we go straight into, you know, Joel being in the hospital now, and Ellie has already been taken from him. He doesn't even get to see how she's doing because they're straight up fucking prepping for surgery. And Marlene shows up, fireflies and everything. She's like, Ellie's being prepped for surgery, and he's like, and they're like, they think they can make a cure, and Joel's like, what's the surgery for? And they're like, you know, we think we can get like something about the fucking cells or whatever that don't attack her. We can make a cure out of it. And he's like, but we'll need the part. And he says, that's the brain. They affect the brain. And Marlene's like, yeah, well, she doesn't. I have to ask Edo, does she know that she's gonna die? Is Ellie aware that she's gonna die? Because I don't think Marlene explained that to her.
I don't think Ellie's aware that she has to die to make a cure.
Yes, exactly. And Joel's like, let me see her. Tommy, like, Tommy? Just kidding. Let me see her. What down? By the way, all those fucking memes kind of work because my voice is so hoarse. And I tried it last night doing the Tommy! Joel! Just people screaming each other's name. What down? Sorry. I'm copiuming myself. If anyone doesn't know, I'm fucking copiuming the shit out of myself. I don't like this episode. I love it, but I hate it too. Side eye.
Yeah.
Flips hair if you didn't see that.
The shot for shot remake of Joel killing everybody in the hospital. You're like, ah, cool.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that I think what they really did well in this show is really showing that Joel is not meant to be a fucking hero at the end of the day. Because you see the way that he's like brutally killing these people. You don't even hear the gunshots. All you hear is kind of like really sad music. And I think to a certain extent, what I like one person's interpretation of it is that nothing else in those moments mattered to him except getting to Ellie. That he is willing to tune out all the suffering that he is causing these people, fully massacring and taking people's lives. And that's the thing that the show does differently that the game doesn't. And I'll talk about that later, or I can talk about it now actually, because from what I've heard from people is that, you know, obviously it's the end of a game. It's a lot more fucking difficult, right? And you know, you're playing for such a long time with those games. Like I heard somebody was playing like one account talking about it was like, this part took me so many hours. It took me like 4 hours to get through this part alone. You see the struggle in the game that Joel takes to get to Ellie. That you kind of, because of how often you end up killing these people, you're kind of like, okay, you're desensitized to it. But what the show gets differently that I like is that it shows you, again, it is another reminder of how easy it is that Joel takes people's lives.
Yeah.
Like how fucking easy, almost like Terminator like brutality level. Like he is the fucking Terminator. And it's like I described in the last episode, right, Enzo, where I said, imagine being an NPC or some fucking side character hearing about a man traveling with a girl massacring entire communities, like shit tons of people. That's not normal. That's not something people do. Even in wars these days, body counts don't go that high. People don't survive 20 years without killing people, you know? But that's the thing, right? Because in the game, you get this sense of continuous suffering and continuous hardships to get to Ellie. And that's why people feel accomplished at the end of it. Because it's like, yes, I fucking finally got to Ellie. Versus here in the show, you see what he's supposed to be. You see that he is a man, like a man murderer machine, you know? He's not even a man anymore. He's just a machine out to kill. And we get it. To a certain extent, we all get it. It's fucking Ellie. We've gone 9 episodes loving her. What more Joel, who spent months on the road with her? You know?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Enzo? Because you played the game. I didn't. But I'm just basing it off of other people's experiences.
When Joel was like shooting them without getting into cover, I was like, I wish it was that easy. In the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing how he brutally kills, especially the 2 people like surrendering and he just executes them anyway, we're like, Jesus Christ. And like, I don't know if you've seen this on the internet, but like, there's like a woman in Stealth House, like in shadows running away from him. Yeah, it's like
and she had a braid on?
Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
Oh shit, is that who I think it is?
Yeah, we're like, oh. It's also like, woman with a braid? Ooh. But I was like, oh, isn't she supposed to be younger? Like, she's like supposed to be closer to Ellie's age, but whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, she's a tall ass 14-year-old, I guess. Grown ass woman, I guess. But anyway, how do you feel, Enzo, about that interpretation that they did with Show Joel, where it was like, you see how he is like killing these people so easily, you know, like how I described it to you, like the difference between the game and here. Like, how do you feel about that as someone who's played the game?
As someone who has, I like how they show that Joel's willing to go any lengths to save Ellie, since she has brought life back into him, and he knows what it's like to be a father again. It just shows that Joel is willing to go any distance, no matter how horrific it is, to save Ellie or any daughter figure he has. At the same time, like you said, you understand because it's Ellie, and we spent all this time getting to know and love her, but at the same time, Joel's killing people who are on their knees begging for life, and he's not giving it to them. Like, oh,
I didn't get the begging on their knees, but you know what? You're right. That's even worse.
Yeah.
And which is interesting though, because if I'm correct, in the game sometimes you do have the option. I don't know if this is if it is in this game or if it's a spoiler for the second one, but aren't there options to like people want like you can kind of spare people, but then every time you spare them, they always like backstab you.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting because that's an interesting game mechanic. Like in terms of that is why I have a thing to say later about how fucking amazing the game is. But like that's the thing, right? It's like Joel knows that. Well, because of course, if you get backstabbed in the game, you respawn. But for Joel, he probably is the kind of person that understands giving someone mercy in this kind of world, regardless of how innocent they are or aren't. If they're begging on their knees, they could come back to kill you, and you need to end it here. And it's completely understandable. It's again, you don't get the 20 years without hurting some people along the way in this kind of world, and that's the thing, right? It's like it's fucked up, but it's to a certain extent you get it, but it's also like it's fucked up, and that's the thing about this show, this game, this world is that actions have consequences, and every choice has a consequence, good or bad. There is no good, completely good. There is no completely bad. Or no, there is no completely good, but there will always be bad. There will always be a bad thing to come out of it, and we'll figure out what happens. But then he fully finishes it, and he gets to the surgeon room, and damn, can I just say, fuck the way he kills that doctor. Oh my god!
Without a second thought.
He's like, it's fully like, I'm not gonna let you through. No words. Boom, and you're like, ah! And I screamed with the nurses. By the way, I was with the nurses. I was like, fuck! Ah! It was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I was begging, like, you can just knock the doctor out. Yeah, he doesn't mean any harm. You know how to make someone unconscious.
He could have.
Yeah.
He really fucking could have just knocked him out.
Yeah.
But you know what? But that's the thing, right? If you think about it, this man had no fucking gun on him. He had a knife at best. But what did Joel... What was the point of killing him? Why kill a man that didn't have a gun, that couldn't stab you in the back, if you just knocked him out? You didn't seem to care when the nurses were hiding behind. So what did it matter that this guy, again, with a fucking scalpel was there? And that's where you understand that is true brutality there. That is true brutality. Because he didn't have to. He really didn't. He wasn't begging for his life, but he wasn't a threat either. And that's the problem there with Joel as a character. And that's the shit. That is like the butterfly effect. But if you think about it, he didn't have to. He really did not have to. And that's the moment you understand that's another moment of like understanding the kind of person that Joel is that despite his vulnerability, he is incredibly ruthless, and sometimes ruthless to a fault. And we understand what happens. And I don't want to make mention again of what happens post season 2, but for anyone watching, you know that there's no that this show refuses to give you something that is not gonna come in handy later, like a fucking mouse tool, you know? They didn't do that close-up shot if he wasn't gonna be important later.
Well.
And everyone who played the game or knows about the second game knows, but don't, and I beg people, if you have not seen anything about the second game, if you've not seen anything about that, do not find out, because I want you to fucking know. But just know, this show does not skip out on its details.
No.
Also, speaking of details, people did make mention that Joel losing his hearing didn't come from shooting from people from always with his his right shoulder. It came from that moment. And I was like, ouch. Ouch. Depression? Ouch.
Speaking of future stuff, did you see the internet's reaction to Laura Bailey being one of the nurses?
Yes! Which is really interesting because she even voiced the nurse.
Yeah. But like...
By the way, I am so in love with Ashley Johnson and Laura Bailey, and seeing them both in this show is amazing. Do you have anything to talk about regarding this doctor moment, or we can move on?
I'm sure.
But I know about it. I guess someone actually caught it. The person's brother who I was watching it with, watching with the person's brother, they were like, "That's Laura Bailey," and I was like, "How did you fucking know?" And he was like, "I don't know. I saw her eyes." And I was like, "You dumb bitch! I hate you." My wife, our wife, my wife. You saw her before I did.
When the nurses turned around, I was scared to death that Joe would execute them too.
Honestly, I was like, he could have fucking done it.
Yeah.
But thankfully he didn't. I think at least he didn't.
Because the game gives you the option to massacre all of them. Which I did, unfortunately, but that's only because my health was low and I was paranoid. I was like, fuck, this doctor's will fuck me over if I don't do something quick.
But you see, Enzo, that's what the game does for you too.
Yeah.
You're getting into the Joel mindset.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's not like I'm murdering actual doctors. They're just pixel doctors. So it's fine.
Side eye. Bombastic side eye.
I don't know.
Criminally offensive side eye, Enzo.
Look, I don't have to worry about the Pixel family coming after me, so it's good.
Shut the hell up. Shut up. Oh my god. Anyway, moving on.
It's not like the lamp in Pixar gets on trial for murdering the eye. I don't say anything else. Yes, I realize that. Let's move on.
For those who don't know, I was making the digging motion because Enzo keeps digging his grave deeper.
I know.
But anyway, side eye. Anyway. So we move on and we get to a very pivotal scene between Marlene and Joel. And interestingly enough, for me in my head, I'm like, I wonder how she feels playing this part again.
Same.
Like, this is a mocap part. This is a part where they fully acted out. Like, it wasn't like her in a booth doing the voices. Like, she was fully on the ground, like, acting it out with Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, and is now doing it with Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. I was like, dang, legacy actress right fucking there, guys. Fucking genius. I mean, because you have to be honest, like, the fact that she reprised her role because there was no one else who could play Marlene except her. Fucking genius. Legendary. Love that for her. But we get a really interesting thing where she's like, well, can you Enzo, you talk about this because I want to hear like how you tell me how it goes down.
Her
also because I forgot the lines.
Her telling Joe that no matter what you do, she'll eventually be torn by a pack of clickers or be murdered on the streets. So this is the better option. He can turn back now. And then Joel makes the fateful decision to shoot her. She begs for her life, and he just.
Which, by the way, no one else has no one has the choice in the game to change. It's a full cutscene. No one changes this part.
Yeah. And then she's like begging for her life, and Joel just goes, "Oh, you'll only come after us," and executes her. You're like, damn. If it's your first time, you're like, damn, Joel. If you're like me, you're like, I remember this fully from 10 years ago. Cool. Thanks, HBO.
Me too. Like, this is the part that I fully, like formed my brain differently. Because I remember thinking, like, oh, he has to let her live. He doesn't. He really fucking doesn't. And then, you know, we move on to finally in the car scene. Well, technically the car scene happens before he shoots her, but at the end of it, you know, we get kind of Ellie and Joel. And I think the thing that breaks my heart is that the first thing that Ellie asks is, where are my clothes? And post David, those words have a different meaning, and it really fucking hurts to think about. And you know, Joel tells her and he placates her, and finally, as they're about to reach Jackson, you know, you can see that Joel is doing everything in his fucking power to keep her from asking questions, but Ellie's smart. We figured that out the whole season. She's been smart. She's been loyal. And she puts two and two together and realizes that something's going on because there's no fucking way there's a dozen of them. There's no fucking way they got just raiders came in. But she wants to believe Joel. And I at least, you know, everyone has different interpretations of it. And I think that's the beauty of this, is that my interpretation of it is that she wants to believe Joel. She wants to believe that, but she also hates to think that, because for me personally, I like this interpretation, and I like to think of it in my head like this, that Joel asks her prior to the hospital, you don't, like, he tells her, you don't have to do this. And she says, no, I have to. Like, there's nothing else for me. We've made it this far. And when you put everything else into context, when you realize that you're right, she went through so much to get here. And for her to turn her back right now, at the loss of Tess, Henry, and Sam, you know, like, and post David, you know, you're right. To a certain extent, she wants to do this. And to Marlene, the thing is, somebody mentioned this, that Marlene doesn't actually know if Ellie would want to do this. Joel knows that she does, but Marlene, who has known Ellie technically her entire life, known about her existence, but doesn't really seem to care about it, because at the end of the day, you know, it's kind of that thing where it's like, sacrifice one person for the benefit of many, or sacrifice many for the one. And somebody puts into like perspective, like, Joel has only known her for a few months, maybe a year, and has like become her father, versus like Marlene, who's known her all her life but treats her pretty much like a tool. And it's like, oh fuck, ouch, you know. And the thing is that Ellie wants to be the cure, but Marlene doesn't know that, but Joel does. That's why it hurts us in our heads because we know Ellie too. And it's like, fuck, you're right. She does want to be the cure because what was the point of the suffering if it's not going to end up in something good? Because at the end of it, that meant Henry and Sam, at least if they were going to die, she wasn't going to be a part of it. You know, Tess didn't have to die, period, because Tess died bringing her as far as she did. She didn't have to experience David. So for all of that to be nothing, it probably is like eating her up, if you think about it. And how do you feel about that, Enzo?
Yeah, I agree that I think even Ellie's like, I'm lost for words.
Me too. Me too.
Even Ellie's like, it can't be for nothing. There's no going back from this. What other path is there? And for Joel to be like, I'll take the alternative path, and Ellie to be like, what alternative path? The path where I kill everybody and we live happily with Tommy, and that's forever and ever, according to his head.
Yeah, but if you think about it, actually, and I'm not discrediting your point, because I believe that I really do believe that point as well. That there is, but I think there's a little bit of nuance, like a caveat that we can add to this, in that like neither Joel nor Marlene asked Ellie what she wanted. And even if she was not in the right mind, for me, even if she wasn't in the right mind to say yes and to consent to this situation medical-wise, somebody mentioned, like, why didn't they run tests initially? Like, why did they go straight into grabbing her brain, killing the only person that they know is immune? And the thing is also is that it's like, why, like, I get it. Like, why couldn't we wait until Ellie was a little older? And I get it, you know, oh, she could be the cure. Then run tests that keep her alive until then. And then let her consent if it means that it's going to end her life at a better point. You know, because that's what you should do medically, ethically, right? Like, ethically, that's what should be happening. And, you know, there's a lot of, like, things going around, people saying, like, oh, what the fuck are 2003 doctors gonna be doing with medical technology 20 years later? You know, these people are either dropouts or people that haven't been studying medicine in the longest time, and they're gonna assume they're gonna make a cure. And even if that was the case, we will never know as people. Like, we will never know because they never did it. And the thing is that at the end of it, even with the chance that, let's assume that we know 100% that Ellie could create a cure, the whole point is that Joel would still pick to kill everybody and get Ellie. And that's the most important characterization. That's one of the most important characterizations of him, is that he is so loyal and so protective to a fault. But no one asked Ellie what she wanted. She didn't consent to dying right away, but she didn't consent either to not being a part of the cure. And that's the problem. No one asked her. And I get it, she's 14. But it's like, were there no other alternatives? We're acting like there's nothing else. And I get it, it's a fucking apocalypse. Like, if we can make a cure right now, we would. But are we really gonna kill the only person? What if they're more valuable alive? And you know, that's the thing, right? It's like, there's so much shit about it. And that's why I love this show and this in the video game. But it's also like, ouch, everything hurts.
Yes.
Everything really fucking hurts. And how do you feel about that, Enzo? Like, the whole, when you were playing the game and then 10 years later or 11 years later you're watching this show, were you of the belief that there could have been a cure? Or have you heard of like that, like, discourse or like those theories saying that there would not have been a cure anyway, so there was no point in killing her, or there's no point in having her stay there?
I've always been like, because of Joel, we'll never know, because they didn't say exactly that for sure if we reap this part of Ellie's brain there will be a cure 100%. They said it could be, it might be, and if you're taking a chances on a might be or could be, I think that's a bit shaky of a foundation. But then again, it is 20 years during the apocalypse, and what better chance do you have? So you might as well take the it could be or might be, rather
yeah,
than,
because it's better than never, right?
yeah.
You know, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. But that's the thing, is that I get it. I really get it. You know, can you really wait long enough for Ellie to become 20 years old to consent to something, not knowing if she's gonna make it? Because what if she does end up dying to something else, and then you never get the chance in the first place? And that's the thing about this game that I love in this show, is that 100%. This is how you do morally gray characters. This is how you do characters that are incredibly human. Because you cannot fault Joel for wanting to save her. You cannot fault Marlene for wanting to let her die, to be experimented on. You cannot blame Ellie for being mad that she didn't get a choice in it at all. You know, and you can't blame the second game for what happens. But you can't blame Joel. You can't blame Joel because that's his fault. But you get what I mean, is that there is no one to blame, but there is everyone else to blame as well. It's the kind of thing where it's like you cannot fault them, but you do have to let them have the responsibility of their actions. And that's what I fucking love, because this is how you do morally gray. This is how you do humans. Because you understand fundamentally. We as audience and the people that play understand them so deeply. And the characterization, the writing, the way that they have played everything out, you cannot blame him because you want Ellie to live. You love her too. But also, if you had the chance to end the shitty world at the cost of one person, would you really blame Marlene for wanting to do that too? Knowing that it could save lives and start the world again? And that's the thing. That's the beauty of this game. But also, ouch. Ouch. And that's where we end, really, you know, with Joel, with Ellie begging him, like, promise me. Just kidding, she doesn't say it like that, but promise me. What did she say specifically, Enzo?
Promise me everything you said about the fireflies is true. And he goes, I swear. And then she goes, okay. And then we cut to credits.
Yeah,
just like the game.
And it's like, ooh, boosh. And that ending brought me back to 2013.
Same here.
I have not. I the feeling that I got at the end of the 2013 game was exactly the way I felt about this, and I was like, "Fuck!"
It's like, wow. I haven't felt that way since 2013, where I just gave like 1,000 years death. Like, that's an incredible, painful game, but Jesus Christ, just
But
sitting
it's
there
so
for like
good.
minutes, like, oh God, what did I just play?
Oh, I threw my pillow on the bed. I was like, ah! So now we're in our post episode discussion. I think, because for me, this game, this show really showed a different aspect, and I think that it made it clear what it wanted to be from the beginning, which was beautiful. Because if you think about it, Neil Druckmann had 11 years to refine all the points. So, you know, and really think about what they wanted to do with the show. And it just hurts because it's like he understood what makes the medium of shows so strong. And this is how you adapt things. This is one of those really, really, really good adaptations. And God bless whoever is gonna do. There's another video game show coming out, I'm pretty sure. There's another one, and so.
All I know is Fallout.
But I don't think it's by HBO. Or I think it's by HBO, huh?
I think the only one I know about is Fallout.
New video game adaptation show.
Like, the ones in my head I know of are like Fallout, Assassin's Creed, Chris Pratt's Mario. Which is like
Funny mo. You're so farny. No, I swear there's something coming. Wait, I swear I'm looking for it right now, because I remember, I know it's a good game that people are looking into. But also there's a Five Nights at Freddy's, ano?
I know. There's also
That's
Dead by Daylight coming soon.
Dead by Daylight?
Yeah.
Oh, DVD?
Yeah.
Oh
shit, I think it's God of War by Amazon. If that's the one you're referring to.
Yes!
Yeah.
Yes! That's what I'm thinking. There you go. Oh my god, another hesitant father with ano.
Yes. What else is there? I like how you instantly
Not that,
drew.
I think it's the God of War that I'm thinking of, and it's like everyone is getting an
I love how you instantly threw Mario under the bus. Like, no, thank you.
I mean, I'm not discrediting it, but I'm talking about a more serious game than Mario, at least. God! Also, it's a movie, not a show. I was talking about a show.
Okay.
Of course, I had to discredit it. I know about the movie, and so I may be a hater, but I'm not that much of a Chris Pratt hater. Joking, I'm not a hater, guys. You know me. I hate with reason. Therefore, I'm a critic. Shut up. I am a hater with reason, so I'm a critic like that.
But
Anyway,
yes, God of War is exciting.
yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, another hesitant father with son. Side
Yes.
eye. Anyway, let's see where it goes. But with that, what else? What about Enzo, what do you feel now that it's ending? What are points that you want to talk about? And if you're gonna talk about the second game, make sure you say it beforehand so we can tell people that we're talking about it.
Should we talk about the second game? I think we should just rate the season first before anything else.
Okay. Well, I was gonna rate the season at the end.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we can do that now. We can do that now because we usually have points after that fact.
Yeah.
So you go.
I have been thinking about what rating I would give this show, and like the only good but not excellent episode is the one with Riley. On the top.
I agreed. I think we were both in agreement that was probably the weakest show. But it's like saying that's the weakest episode it's the weakest part of the show. But it's like saying there's a weak part in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I don't know if you get that joke, but like, sorry,
yeah,
Joma's
sure.
not here.
That's fine. Despite that,
Or yeah, it's like saying a weak episode in Arcane. There you go, in Arcane. So it's
Alright.
like. It's weak in comparison to Arcane, but it's still the strongest of other shows. Anyway, sorry, continue.
honestly, I'll give this a 9 out of 10. This is one of the best adaptations I've seen. The characters were beautifully brought to life. The story is beautifully told, no matter how heartbreaking or heart-wrenching it is. And like, it leaves you at the end of every episode. I'm just left there sitting for a few minutes, being like, what does this all mean?
What does my life mean?
Yeah. Would I do the things they did? What would I do in their shoes? Like, it's been a while since a show or any game, in fact, has made me reflect upon stuff in life. So, yeah. Yeah, that's about it.
All right. Well, for me, I would like to think I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. Personally, I really will give it because I don't think there is ever gonna be a perfect show. But I think in theory, to what everything has happened in the grand scope of video game adaptations, whether they're turned into shows or movies, in the grand scheme of shows in general and creating a really wonderful story. I will say wonderful in the sense of like it's a well told story versus like good shit happens, because that's a lie. That's a lie. But I really do think it's probably one of the best shows out there, personally, because through and through you are told that it is initially you're told that it's something about a zombie apocalypse. They set it up to be that, but at the end of it, it's just a story of people in the context of it. And if you think about what The Last of Us did for video games initially in 2013 when it was first released, it was probably one of the first games that took the idea of zombies but changed it to become incredibly human. And I feel like it set the precedent for so many other shows to become a lot more human. Because, I mean, I know The Walking Dead came out like before that, both the show and the and I get that, like, it's probably not the first zombie thing to do human stories in the setting of an apocalypse, or human stories in an apocalypse, but like when you think about what it did for video games, at least it really showed what it was capable of doing for its medium. And it really, I feel like this has really set the precedent for really good video game adaptations, because the only one other I can think of was my other 10 out of 10, which is Arcane. But Arcane, I would say, is a lot looser in terms of its storytelling because there is nothing to compare it to because there's no fucking like distinct lore in League compared to Arcane. But here it has to be somewhat of a 1 to 1.1 comparison because there is a story, there's a linear story. Excuse me, sorry. But that's the thing, is that I really think that I hope that Arcane and The Last of Us really set a precedent for better adaptations in the future because it shows that we can have that when you understand what about the game made it so good and then adapt that, right? And I think that's, people are always like, oh, it's so easy to adapt. It's like, no, it's not, because it's not easy, but I wouldn't say it's impossible either, because we've seen that with The Last of Us, with a very distinct timeline that people can compare to.
I mean,
and yeah,
it is
if
hard
you're
to
gonna talk
do.
about Nathan Drake,
Yes, like you say,
I knew
oh,
it.
it's easy. Like Uncharted was easy, and then they gave us Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg bullshit. So we're like, thought this was supposed to be easy. Why do you
I
make
mean,
it?
it's not. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's easy, but I'm not gonna say it's impossible, right? And I don't know. I just feel like when you understand what makes a good story, and you take those elements to adapt them, and when you understand the mediums that you're adapting from, as well as what you're adapting to, it's not impossible. It really isn't, and that's what I really appreciate. And God, Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey really solidified their acting for me in this show, because not only do I see no other people playing these people, but they both fully embody the reason why we love, Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker as their roles.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're both able to bring something different, because something that I noticed about Joel in this adaptation, like Pedro Pascal's Joel, that was not evident in Troy Baker's, is that Pedro Pascal's Joel is a lot softer compared to Troy Baker's, because personally, I see him more ruthless. So here, this is how I see it. Pedro Pascal's Joel, when he is soft, is really soft, and you really see the vulnerability in his skills. You really see him embodying the fatherly figure who is a little goofy, who is sarcastic, but is incredibly loving and incredibly protective. But the switch that he makes between that and when he's killing people is so evident. Whereas with Troy Baker's, they both kind of meld together, because you see the hardened veteran of 20 years in an apocalypse in both sides, as well as the softness in both sides. So his is a lot more, whereas like Pedro Pascal's like a switch, Troy Baker's is like a mesh of both in one. It's a lot difficult to perceive in the video game where he's ruthless and where he's because it seems so close to each other, versus Pedro Pascal is like a switch, and that's what makes it so much more visceral when he kills people. It's because you see when you see in the beginning of the show where he's like, oh, here's some Chef Boyardee and some Bagel, wanna play with me? And he's like, tell me about your puns, I want to hear some puns. And he's sarcastic and loving. But Troy Baker's was like, he was more of an authoritative father figure. I don't know if you can agree with that. Like, he was soft, but he was still a different kind of father compared to how Pedro Pascal does Joel, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, now
Sigh.
that you mention it, yeah. Like what I remember of Troy Baker's Joel, because it's been a hot minute since I played the game.
I mean, that's fair. It really is fair. I've seen because a few clips past. That's why I'm able to make kind of, for me, it's the way I interpret it. And obviously, because it's a video game, you kind of project yourself into Joel every so often, how you would choose to talk about things. But when you see Pedro Pascal, who is a completely different entity from you, who is like not even like you're playing as him, like he's just a completely different entity, you get to see things differently. And that's what I love, is that they both bring something different. And the way that I noticed Bella Ramsey's Ellie versus like Ashley Johnson's is that Ashley Johnson has more of a kind of mischievous character to it. Like she's a lot more mischievous. She's a lot more like tomboyish and out there, and Ellie's is a little more like kind of like a little gremlin. Like whereas Ashley Johnson's like mischievous, hers is like gremlin, and it's funny. I don't know how to describe it specifically, but and Bella Ramsey, when she like does her moments of screaming and pure visceral fear, you really feel it. Whereas like Ashley Johnson's, you can kind of feel that Ellie is a lot stronger. But when you see Ellie here, you really see the difference between somebody who has been an accusee her whole life. Like even if she had it hard, damn if not the world is a lot harder and a lot colder and a lot meaner. And when she does her screams, it's so much more painful to hear. Like it really like feels like blood curdling, like I went pale hearing her screams during the David scene. And that's the difference between her, because like especially when they do the break your fucking finger scene, Ashley Johnson's version of it was a lot more like strong, like go fuck you, like fuck you, versus like Bella Ramsey's, which was a lot more like caged animal, like truly caged animal. And again, that's why there is no wrong way to do this, but damn if they both don't get it. Like both sides get it, and I was like, fuck. Also, now we're gonna talk a little bit about the second game.
Hello there. Yes, you heard that right. We'll be talking about the second game, not just a little bit, we'll be talking a lot of it. So if you don't want to know anything about The Last of Us 2, and if you truly don't know, I suggest you don't go forward. This is where you stop, and this is where we end our video for you guys who don't want to know, or who are not interested, or again just don't want to know anything about The Last of Us 2. If you want to stay and continue with our post-episode discussion, go right ahead. If you've played The Last of Us 2, or if you just don't care, that's amazing, go right ahead. But for those who are stopping here, thank you so much for watching our videos for the past 9 weeks of us, of me, Nina, John, and Seb talking about The Last of Us. It has been a ride. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to see more of us on YouTube, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ding the bell icon to get notified of when we upload next. Sorry, I had coffee this morning. Also, if you want to see more of us, we're also on TikTok and Spotify. Spotify to hear us on the go, and TikTok to see our best and funniest moments. Individually, you can find me at Gandalfus1995 on Twitter. Nina's socials will be down below, as always. And yeah, just saying once again, thank you so much for watching All Cut Up, The Last of Us, for the past 9 weeks. And if you want to stop here because you don't want to hear anything about The Last of Us 2, there's the part where we say bye, and we'll see you on the next one. And if you want to continue, you don't care, or if you played The Last of Us 2 already, welcome to our post episode discussion involving a lot of things about The Last of Us 2. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy our videos either way, and we'll see you on the next one for those who are leaving. Bye.
Can you believe Laura Bailey was taking a picture next to her dad in the show?
But yes, I do love that picture. I'm like, I love how show Ellie kills game
game dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, game Joel.
And now game Abby poses beside show
Versus like their,
dad.
yeah, dad. They show dad.
Yeah.
And did you see what meme she was referencing? It was the one with the guy next to the gravestone doing this. And I was like, Laura, please.
I love it.
Also, she does play that nurse. She does play that nurse from the first game.
Oh.
Yeah, she genuinely does. I'm not fucking with you. She has credits to that nurse.
Interesting. And then she
Yeah.
plays a bigger role in the second game, which is pretty cool.
I know. And then plays a bigger, but you know, I get it. Laura Bailey's just that amazing. She's my wife, our wife. Travis and I's wife. Travis, her actual husband, by the way.
So now we can mention the woman running from Joel for dear life.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So
if you haven't told everybody, this is like a long post discussion because we're gonna do that. But yeah, go ahead, Enzo.
yeah, so we're like, oh shit, is that Abby? Even though she's supposed to be like the same age as Ellie, like 14, and she's not as built yet, so like maybe.
But I'm like, she's tall as fuck. But then again, Bella Ramsey's short.
Yes.
Short. Like, she's short. Like, next to both Sarah and Riley, she is short.
I've seen some fan castings for Abby, which I wouldn't be opposed to. Like, I forgot her name. Florence Pugh. It's like, why not?
No, I don't think so. I feel like no, though.
No.
No, I feel like no. I think Florence Pugh, I don't think she'll get. I don't think she'll embody it the same way that another person's Abby could.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe because, like, for me, I mean, I understand if you get it. I mean, you explain to me, why do you think Florence Pugh?
Honestly, that's just the first person that always pops in my head of like who would I like to see, like seeing how well she can bring her characters to life too. Like I've seen her do stuff in, I forgot the movie's name. I think it was called Fighting with My Family. I was like, it's a pretty good portrayal of a person who's I'm lost for words. Who's a tough person essentially. So I'm like, all right.
Makes sense.
And she's in Black Widow as Black Widow's sister. I was like, all right, if there's anyone I want to see, it would be nice to see Florence Pugh as Abby, but I don't know who your choice would be.
I feel like kasi Florence Pugh, I don't know, I maybe I should see her in those roles. I think somebody mentioned, I think it's Shannon Berry or Jocelyn Mettler? Shannon Berry. I don't know if you've seen her. Let me like show a picture of her. I'm gonna stream to you, by the way. Like, you fully have to see it. I'm sorry to everybody, but like I gotta do this for Enzo and I. This is our discussion. It's our video. If you don't want it, leave. This one. This is her.
Oh, her.
Videos. I would say she's quite close. Look at that. Like, not even just look-wise, she has the vibes.
Yeah. Huh.
Like, I fully see it. And then there's another one. They're not Brie Larson. Brie Larson's too old. I feel like... there you go. I feel like Florence Pugh would be too old by that point. Because she's supposed to play a teenager, right? Like,
yeah.
At least only like 18, 19 when it happens.
Oh my god, Ronda Rousey. Lord have mercy.
Lord have mercy. I feel like, again, she would be too old, though.
Yeah. Huh. I saw Sadie Sink. I was like, huh. Maybe. I don't know. Oh,
but
yeah, I
like,
know her. Definitely.
Yeah, Jocelyn Mettler. The actual face of Abby, though. And she's an actress, right? Like, she's an actress, right? I'm not crazy.
I think so.
Is she an actress?
Or
she's a game dev. She's a game dev! That woman is a game dev! Oh! They really... Oh. She's a game dev, huh? And a VFX artist. That's sick. Good on her.
Good on her.
Jesus.
I know she streams too. To my knowledge.
Crazy. That's so cool. I love that for her. Love that. We love women. We win women. Anyway. But I don't know. I think the issue is that Florence Pugh has a much more mature face. And I'm not saying that, like, I mean, fucking Bella Ramsey's 19 playing a 14-year-old. But the thing is, she looks kiddish.
Yeah.
You know? But, like, I think Florence Pugh has little too much of a mature face to play her. And I think her interpretation of Abby doesn't really get the vibes down personally. I know she can be ruthless, but I think her ruthlessness is more like, maybe because obviously I've seen her in Black Widow, but like I've also seen her in like Don't Worry Darling. I've seen her in I just don't think casting wise it fits the bill quite well, because whereas Abby is kind of a person, like Abby is supposed to be like this incredibly strong, and I'm not saying Florence Pugh isn't an incredibly strong, but it's different vibes as well. It's the different interpretations of strength, whereas like Abby's is a lot more hardened and very masculine and very like apocalypse ready, grew up in it, you know, fought through for it. Florence Pugh's majority of the roles that she has been cast in, like think like Don't Worry Darling, Black Widow, etc., like what you had said, Midsommar, it doesn't really fit the bill for me. And I feel like there might be someone better than that. And yeah, it just doesn't, it's not, maybe, but I'm not the casting director for a reason. I'm not in Hollywood. But I want to see. I do want to see who they're gonna get as Abby as well. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry, Enzo. I mean, like, that's just my opinion, though. And I hope
fine.
you don't feel bad about me. I'm not ragging on Florence Pugh either. I love her with all. You know me. I'm biased. I'm biased towards her.
That's all good. So the other elephant in the room.
I just hope no one asks for Laura Bailey, huh?
The other elephant in the room is that Joel dies pretty early in the second game. So I don't know how long
I know.
they'll keep Pedro Pascal. Like, is he going to die in the beginning, or are they going to build it up where he dies at the end of season 2?
No, I doubt they're gonna wait until season 2 end. I feel like they're gonna do it in the second episode. Like, we're gonna get a full episode of happiness and then kill him. I'm so sorry.
I was begging in my head of like, Joel, please don't kill the doctor. Just don't kill the doctor. Like, please don't kill the doctor. And
But that's what I said, right? And so it's like, that's the point. He didn't have to kill the doctor, but he does. Therefore, it leads into the second game for a reason.
And then when he does, I'm like, you fucking stupid idiot. Why do you have to kill him?
You know what's interesting? Okay. So, still because this is still video game discussion at this point. But you remember what Kathleen says in her episode? Kathleen or fucking Karen, the Karen woman in the Kansas City.
I thought you were
QZ.
I thought you were talking about Catelyn Stark. I was like, where is this conversation going?
Kathleen. I said Kathleen. Anyway, where she says, if you've come here to tell me that my brother would ask me to forgive Henry and Sam for killing him, don't worry, he already told me that. I feel that is exactly what Joel, Ellie, and Abby are all. They're all the same person like that woman there. Because you're correct. If you think about it, Enzo, Joel would tell Ellie to forgive Abby because he killed her father. Abby's dad probably, I don't fucking know, he died too much. I don't know about jack shit about that man. But he would probably be like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Even Tommy was like, don't do it in the game. You know? And then we see where he went. Side eye. Side eye. I don't know what happens about Tommy, but I hear stuff. I don't actually know canonically what happens with him. But anyway. But you get what I mean? And I feel like that character perfectly encompasses what's gonna happen in the second season. And that's why I think the game does the cycle of violence so fucking good. Whereas the first one is about being human, the second one is all about the consequences of being human. But that's why I think the second game is really brilliant in the way that, like, you are meant to play Abby because you're supposed to hate her. And then you understand why she did everything, but you still hate her. And that's exactly what you're supposed to feel. You're supposed to feel bad, but you're also supposed to understand. And that's the point. Because if you think about it, Enzo, people will make you mad. People will make you mad, and you will understand why people make you mad. People will do things to hurt you, and you will understand. But that doesn't change the fact that you've been hurt. And that's the fucking point. Joel chose what he did to do. He chose to do what he did in that day. He chose to kill Abby's dad. And brutally, mind you, he didn't even have a fucking gun. And you know what? He deserved to die in the beginning because that's what happens when you kill people. Consequences happen and they will get to you. And I think I explained this to Enzo. If you think about it, Joel fully decided to do what he did, and he would tell Ellie to forgive because he knows that he believes it. But guess what? Ellie still chooses to do exactly what Joel did because Joel taught her to be the kind of person that she is right now. Do you think that somebody being in such close proximity to somebody like Joel who brutally murders people will not do the same thing when she's angry? Because she has not been told otherwise. She has never been taught in a place that was secure. She's never been taught how to deal with her anger because Joel didn't deal with his anger well either. Looks at the fireflies. But you get me. Does that make sense, though, Enzo? Is what I'm making. Is what I'm saying makes sense in the grand scheme of somebody that I know. Enzo, you look so sad. You're like,
no, I'm just thinking about other
here.
things. Like, I get what you mean. Again, it just comes down to, I just wish some things in the game were executed better. I'm like everyone else here. I don't condone sending hate mail to actors who have nothing to do with the script or story or anything else. But like, I just wish better decisions were done in terms of execution of like why does Abby seem to be hunting all the Joels in the world? Like, do you kill every Joel you come across, or is it just this one specific? Like,
but he killed her dad. That's the thing.
Yeah, but like she knows his name is Joel, and it's implied that
She knows his name is Joel. How she kills every Joel around.
Yeah, I'm like,
what's your name? Joel.
It's fucking America. Everybody's named Joel.
I mean, I get it. But like, I think if you think about it, Joel was also able to find out what town.
That is true. That's true.
You know? But that's the thing, right? It's that Joel, Abby, and Ellie are all the same coin. They're not even the different sides of the same coin. They're just the same fucking side of a coin, you know?
That is true. Also,
because that's... yeah, go ahead.
I was thinking, like, at the end of
what town? Sorry, I can't get out of it.
At the end of this
what town?
episode...
I'll show you the clips later. Go ahead,
yes,
Enzo.
please. I was thinking, like, this show made me be like, you know what, maybe I should continue the story. Maybe I should replay the second game.
Don't do it. It's all depression, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what, the person who said, like, who played the second game, they were like, to encompass the entire game, it's, oops, got your coping mechanism. That's not a coping mechanism. He's just like, what's your coping mechanism? Murder. And again, I hope people understand that I completely get it that Ellie has no other way of understanding the world except through killing people, because that's literally the world she was brought up in. But that's also the thing. You cannot blame people. It's like I said, you can't blame Abby for wanting to kill Joel. You can blame Joel because he did kill somebody that did not have a gun and was not a threat. And you cannot blame Ellie for wanting to murder people. It's just how the world works. But that's the point. The point of the game is that you're not supposed to like what happens. You're supposed to experience visceral feelings. I mean, look what happened with David in the show. Fuck that shit. I hate it. Do I know that the world is that way? Yes. Do I need to be reminded of it? No, but it made me feel that way. It's just stark. Because that's the thing, right? Is that a lot of the people, I feel like a lot of the people that had, not you include, they're not included in this, Enzo. I have to distinguish you that because I know you know better. Because you did send hate mail and you understand where I'm coming from. You're not like, no, Joe didn't need to die in the second game. Fuck you. Joe, my God. But like, the thing is that a lot of the people might have gotten the idea that Joel was supposed to be a hero. He saved Ellie and he got away with it. And in the second game, in the beginning, after 10 years of fucking waiting, 2013 came out in 2019. 6 years of waiting, we got him dying in the first 2 hours. But that's the thing, right? You know, we for so long wanted to see a continuation of Joel's story. But the thing is that Joel needs to understand, as well as us, that there are consequences to killing people, regardless of whether or not they're pixel doctors.
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
But
like,
I was 17 at the time, so I didn't know better. I should have known better. But like,
I mean, but like, no, it's okay, Enzo. I was also like, I was 13. I was 13 when it came out. I also believe that. But you have to understand too, is that this game is not meant to make you feel like a hero. This game is meant to make you understand what people go through. And that's why the video game is so fucking brilliant. Because they don't make you the hero. They make you human. Even though you respawn. but you know what I mean? And that's that's what I love about movies, about books, and about, you know, comics and webtoons, is that all of these things, when they're done really well, when they want to do these kinds of themes about being a morally gray person, about surviving in a difficult world, it really shows the kind of person that you can become, you might end up becoming, or you are. It really shows that. And that's what the video game does, because I think for the first time in a long while, a really popular game made you not the hero. I mean, think about like in Halo, right? Like fucking you're Master Chief, you are a bioengineer. I don't fucking remember what he's supposed to be, but he's like a bioengineered super soldier.
Don't look at me.
You know,
I don't remember either.
I don't specifically remember what he is, but I know he's like a engineered person that's supposed to be incredibly amazing at killing people. Or like, think of like Hitman, Agent 47, literally engineered to become an absolute mass murderer. But, you know, but those games make you feel epic. Those games make you feel like you're amazing. But here, you are you are a killing machine and you're not supposed to like it because you are killing people with lives. You are killing people who are brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, friends, family to other people, and you're supposed to feel guilty. And then Joel gets his comeuppance in the second game, and you understand. And that's supposed to hurt. That's supposed to hurt. And that's what I love about the show is that they make it fucking clear. He's not supposed to be like because he murders all these people. You like him, you understand him, but you're not supposed to condone it, and you know that he's supposed to get his result. He has consequences, and you get that. And then Kathleen happens, and I'm like, fuck, that's Ellie and Abby all together. You know, and it's just I feel like that detail will come in like remembering that detail in the first season is gonna bring so much context into the second. And I'm glad that Neil Druckmann isn't afraid to change nothing about the second game, because I feel like it's well deserved that he God, you know what? Even if people don't agree with the way he does that, and I am for that. I have been a big critic of incredibly popular authors who people have loved, and I've been a critic of it. I have disliked creative choices, and Edzo, you talking about execution is absolutely valid. But at the very least, I'm gonna give it to Neil Druckmann. Despite all the hate he got in 2019, he is sticking to his fucking guns, and you know what? I respect that. Just like the way I respect people that don't send death threats to actors and writers and studios. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about that, Edzo? Like with me talking, I'm so sorry, I keep talking about it.
That's fine, that's valid. Like, we are talking about the second game, or second season anyway. And hammer in those points as a reminder to folks who will be going into it pretty soon, that that's the entire point of this. That's the entire point of the entire franchise. That violence begets violence, and hopefully someone ends it soon. But for this franchise, we don't know what will happen. So there's that.
At least for now.
At least for now.
Oh my god, I got a bit of backwash.
But
Sorry, go ahead.
I wish I had something as heavy as Nina said. But like, all I'll say is that I hope those who are watching this video watch the alternative ending for The Last of Us 1, because it is pretty funny.
Ah! I put a link to it in their description. It's so good. You guys gotta watch it. I'm gonna be honest, now that you know everything, watch the ending of that. It's so good. It's by the original voice actors, and it's so good. It's a prank on Troy Baker, if no one knows, the guy who plays Joel from the first game. I watched that. I still love it. I watch it every so often when I remember it.
Anyone who's watching this video, I implore you to watch it. It's pretty funny.
It really is. And I guess we can just close it out soon, because I just want to talk a little bit more about the second game, and that like I like the idea talaga that, you know, like Enzo said, violence begets violence. And I feel like I like that the show at the very least makes it incredibly clear that Joel is supposed to not be a hero in this, because I feel like that's where it got lost. That point got lost in the video game, because we kind of, you know, a lot of people struggled in the last part apparently for hours. And you know, sometimes when you play a video game for so long and you play the same part over and over, you just kind of forget how the story went. I'm just kidding, but like, you know, you kind of forget to be immersed in that moment. So when it happens, you're like, yeah, fuck you! I got Ellie, bitch! And it's like, oh, I got Ellie at the cost of a shit ton of people's lives. But it makes it clear. So I think at least in the second season, that point is not gonna get lost. And I feel like that not a lot of hate, if any, are gonna be sent towards their way, because it was made explicitly clear here. I hope, at least. God, I hope so. I feel like the only people who really complain about Joel dying are the people who have played the second game and still believe that he should have lived after everything that happened. Side eye. I mean, do I want Joel to live? Fuck yeah, I love Pedro Pascal, but I mean, it happens when you are a mass murderer. when you're a mass murderer, you know, shit happens to you, dude. Shit happens. But anyway, I think we can. Is there anything you want to say about the second game /second season before we move on? And so, because I'm gonna close it out. Like, I want to make it clear where to close it out. for viewers.
No, I think I've had my fill with the second game already. So
Oh yeah, you're right. You and Edwin, Joma, and Seb all have like separate videos, which you guys can watch, by the way, on the Geeks and Degenerates channel and our Spotify. But all right, I think this is where we can end it. 10 out of 10 for me, 9 out of 10 for Enzo. Are you sure you don't want to reconsider? Joke. Anyway.
I'm sure
No, wait, you don't have to.
No, I'll say I'm sure the internet will convince me, try to convince me, but I'm set on 9 out of 10.
That's fair. We respect opinions here. We don't respect hate mail. We don't respect death threats here, everybody. And so with that, I think we can end. Thank you so much to everybody for being with us in All Caught Up Season 1, The Last of Us Season 1. It was a joy for me to host, and it was so fun getting to talk to Enzo every week for 9 weeks straight. Just kidding. As if that's a bad thing. I'm not being sarcastic. It was fun. It was sad that Joma couldn't join us towards the latter half, but regardless, he's a busy boy, and I'm not, because I'm only free during the weekdays and he's only free during the weekends. And with that, I think Enzo, take it away with our final All Caught Up plug. Tell them where they can find the rest of our videos if they want to hear about The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2.
Yes, if you want to see us die from doing The Last of Us 2 over and over again, you can find us here on YouTube. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ding the bell icon to get notified of when we upload next. We also have our other All Caught Up show with the Mandalorian, so that's a happier...
Another Pedro Pascal show!
A happier one
with him as a, what do you call that?
Mandalorian.
Hesitant father figure! Woo! With a green child.
This time with an alien. You can also find us on Spotify and TikTok to see our best and funniest moments. Spotify to hear us on the go. Individually, you can find me at Gandalfus1995 on Twitter. How about you?
You can find me on 9_na, both on Instagram and Twitter. I'm not active. I'm active here, guys.
Cool.
And with that, I think we can end it. Enzo, can you say bye-bye and thank you to our viewers?
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for being with us, and I hope you enjoy our other season or our other kind of show with All Caught Up. And thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed being with us. Let us know in the comments if you have any angry reactions and/or happy reactions. Maybe sad, because that's how I felt. If you're gonna hate me for my opinions on the second game, you know what? Good on ya. I respect everyone's opinion. Good on ya, I guess. So I'm gonna say bye, guys. Take care. See ya.